Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libas. Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want goals.
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
The Wednesday Week.
Hello and welcome to a very special post-bank holiday episode of the Wednesday Week. With the season shenanigans at Watford firmly in the rearview mirror, there's little in the way of match analysis to talk about. And with off-field activity currently at something of an impasse, there's not much anything, Dapon or Danny, that we need to be discussing either, that we haven't already spoken about already, that is. Although, if time allows, I'm sure that something may come up later in the show. Tonight, we've given the boss even, the night off as he recovers from a bank holiday Monday at Wembley, cheering on Samuel Chinson's AFC Wimbledon as they secure promotion to League One with a 1-0 win at Walsall, although his wingman Ash, who was with him, joins me tonight because I can't be trusted to be left on my own. And we are joined by John and Simon as we share our ultimate post-Premier League Sheffield Wednesday 11. Now, you know us here at this podcast, we wouldn't be anything without high-end production and fantastic catchy earworms. So here's tonight.
Here's our best 11 since 2000. We've been shite, but we've had lads who could still fight. 4 of us picked our favourite crew, and half of them you've never heard, it's true.
Brilliant. Wow.
Literally no expense spared. No expense spared. And that is why we're award winning.
Lads, I really don't think it's that, Stevie. I really don't think it's that. I don't know what it is, actually, to be honest.
Maybe not that. Maybe not that. Ash, talk to me about Wembley. How was it? How was it being at Wembley without any pressure?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, brilliant. I think there was nearly 30,000 Wimbledon supporters there. Brilliant. It was good. Yeah, it's totally different atmosphere, isn't it? Totally different when you're walking in there. One, I was sober walking in there. And two, where you just didn't really... I did care what the result was, obviously, but it wasn't the pressure. But, yeah, really good. Pretending to be a Wimbledon fan for the day. Yeah, it was good. I met loads of people, had a good chat. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it was good. Good atmosphere.
Did you cheer?
Did I cheer? Yeah, I joined in with a couple of little ditties and stuff. But Dan and my lads, they were fully immersed in the Wimbledon. Lad had a shirt on. Dan had his tracksuit top on. Proper Wimbledon fans for the day. They were. It was good. Really good atmosphere. Good day. Yeah. Had some good beer as well, which is always good.
Yeah, love it. Good to hear. John, good bank holiday?
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, our season's finished. Someone else's might be finished though, but it looks of things. And, with the no football to ruin our weekend, it was amazing how another event actually made mine as well. So, yeah, happy days, mate. Happy days. I don't know what it will. I don't know if anyone else
No idea what you're talking about, John. How about you, Si? Have a good extended weekend?
Yes, it was a lovely extended weekend. I was going to ask Ash if the puddles had sort of dried up in the stadium. You know, if there were the tears that were shed on a certain day, apparently, dried up.
They had. There were no puddles on Wembley Way.
Oh dear,
that was it. They were all gone. So yeah. But it was good to see another.
It was just a bridge too far for them, weren't it? You know, but
Jesus, John.
We've not even got going yet. Okay, so right then, over the next hour, then we're going to spend that period of time sharing our individual teams. So for the benefits of those people who have seen the promos on social media over the last few days, we have come together, and it's something that we'll discuss a little bit later in the show, with a themed episode this evening where we're going to look at the best 11 Sheffield Wednesday players. Now, it would be very easy of us to sit down and talk about the heady days of the Premier League, talking about winning cups, talking about winning at Wembley, talking about being victorious on that grand stage. So we wanted to put a little bit of a spin on it, and what we've done is we've decided that we're going to try and put together our individual best 11s from the last 25 years. So if we take 2000 as sort of ground zero and the starting point, we're going to look at our 1 to 11s from any player that we have sort of endured and sort of revered over that period of time since we've been relegated from the Premier League. When we do it, obviously we're going to have plenty of graphics that we're going to be sharing, and I want to give a little bit of a disclaimer. We've done this privately. We've not shared it with anybody. We've gone through Dan, and Dan's put the graphics together as he does for us. So it's going to be a first time sort of viewing for all of us to see where we are and how similar or how different these teams are. I don't know who's going to be most nervous about it. All right, and I'm curious to see who gets the sort of the most favourable comments in the chat as we go. Are there going to be any major surprises? Are there going to be any major ones that people disagree with? So if you are watching live, and even if you're watching back, feel free to drop us a comment. And as we always say, the socials are down the bottom. Really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. But yeah, get involved in the comments. Let us know what you agree with, what you disagree with. And as we go through the evening, I'm really curious, and I thought about this a lot today. Is there anybody that I've missed, or is there anybody that we've missed that you guys sort of think about and are jumping out at? So we'll give that a go.
There's got to be Stevie, or this show is going to be really boring when we all roll out the same 11. Now, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we've not seen each other's teams. I am very, very confident that there's going to be a couple of positions that probably 3 out of 4 of us have got, or even all 4 of us, you know, because we have had those sorts of players. But yeah, I totally agree. It's going to be good. Get in the comments and slaters and raters.
I think what it has shown is, when putting this together, is over the 25 years, how many rubbish players we've had, and players.
Now, Mr. Positives here now, isn't it?
I know I'm the old man of the podcast, but I do suffer from memory issues sometimes. But some of the players on that list, looking at who we've signed since 2000, I have not got a clue who a lot of them were. None of them stuck in my memory to go, oh yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun.
There were certainly a couple that I've gone, oh, he's in by default. I'm not going to lie. There's a certain couple of positions they've gone in by default, and I wanted to, full disclosure, I wanted to try and avoid putting in the 2015 or 14 to 16 Carlos season 1 era. I think that would have been quite an easy trope to fall into as well. A, because it's quite recent in our memory, and B, because that's the team that got us closest back to the sort of promised land, wasn't it? But we'll see how we get on. Right, what we're going to do is we'll go around the panel, and we'll get position at a time. So we'll go goalkeeper, defence, midfield, striker, and just offer up a little bit of sort of a viewpoint as to why we've gone for the players that we've gone for. Mm-hmm. And seeing as you are top left on my screen, Simon, I'm going to start with you. would you like to introduce your goalkeeper?
Yes, I'd like to introduce my goalkeeper. He is probably a goalkeeper that has probably been one of the best goalkeepers I've actually seen in my living memory at Wednesday.
Yes, come Dawson.
He, I think, in my opinion, he surpasses Pressman, Chris Woods, Turner, the guys that I saw sort of pre-2000, and that would be Kieran Westwood. The guy came in and spent, believe it or not, everybody talks about his Sunderland career. He actually played more for Wednesday than he did for Sunderland. He obviously came through a period of headiness of when we went to Wembley, but he signed before that. He signed before Carlos Carvalhal actually came to the club, and what he did bring was a goalkeeper who commanded his area, who was absolutely superb at stopping shots, who was great at distribution. He had everything. And he also had character. So much character, I think, that certain managers couldn't handle him towards his end of his tenure at Hillsborough. Famously dropped by Jos Lukai, famously dropped by Gary Monk, and famously brought back in the team by Lee Bullen every time Lee Bullen took the reins. A nice guy, loved by many, many ladies, Sheffield Wednesday supported ladies. He was good on the eye as well as good in goal. And to me, that's why I vote him as my best keeper that we have had since 2000.
I have to say, I'll just offer a little bit of input there, because rather than break the sort of the formula up, I have to say I'd agree with everything that you've said there. We are blessed at Sheffield Wednesday with some very good goalkeepers, whether they be our signings or players that we've well known. But we've been a bit of a hotbed, haven't we, over the course of the 25 years. But for everything that you've said there, Si, I'd be inclined to agree. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to agree wholeheartedly with that choice. Kieran Westwood, I thought was fantastic. When we first went down, we still did have Pressman for a bit, but Pressman was on the wane by then. But Westwood came in. I think he'd been a number 2 elsewhere in his career, and he came to us, given that fresh start and as a number 1 goalkeeper again. And he took it with open arms, and his reflexes, his shot stopping were some of the best I've seen down at Hillsborough. Especially when you consider, we were a second division team by then. I think he got some caps for the Republic of Ireland as well. He always had a battle on his hands to get the number 1 jersey with them. But for us, he was undoubtedly our number 1 keeper and one of our best goalkeepers, regardless of division. I think I agree with you there, Simon, as well. I thought it was a cut above the level that we were playing at. And he won us easily in those first couple of seasons. He must have easily won us at least 10, 12 points in a season. It was fantastic. It was superb. And pivotal in both those playoff runs under Carlos seasons 1 and 2. So, yeah, 100%, no argument from me, Westwood, unequivocally.
Ash?
God, I'm boring. Yeah, I've gone Westwood as well. I'm not going to add anything more to what these 2 fine gentlemen have already said. Only 3 things. 3 things I'm just going to say. 1, Si, he only played 19 times for Sunderland.
Right.
I know. I totally agree with what you said. People do think because they were in the Premier League, and obviously he played really well for him. I got a question for you. Just a thing. How many times did Westwood play for Sheffield Wednesday in the cups? So all the cups, how many times did Westwood play?
Oh, I know this.
You don't answer that.
I don't know this.
I think I know this.
No,
John, give us a number.
So he played 7 seasons. So he played 7 seasons. Yep.
I'm going to say 12 appearances.
12 appearances for Sheffield Wednesday. Anyone if you want to have a guess in the comments, please do. Simon?
Oh dear. I'm going 8.
8, right. So he made a total of 184 appearances, Sheffield Wednesday. He made 1 appearance in the Cup. FA Cup 2018-2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
He also holds the merit of there's only 3 players who've ever won
was
Sheffield
my
Wednesday
next one.
player. Oh, sorry, mate.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. Go on.
So he holds there's 3 players who've won Sheffield Wednesday Player of the Year award on multiple occasions. Right. So he's one of them, and the 2 others. So who do you think the other 2 are?
Wolf, I do not know.
I'm looking on fucking Wikipedia tonight.
I really couldn't guess, could I?
You can guess. No, well, obviously, one is Barry Bannon, who we may or may not talk about later. And the other one, who, despite my age, I don't remember, is Eric Potts, but I have heard of him.
Cool. Stephen, who about your goalkeeper? No, well, right, move on.
He's
then.
there.
Left
He's
back.
there. I've gone Westwood, and I feel like we could drag out these talks. We've got 11 players to get through, but I'd agree with everything that was said. He made the 2015 EFL Player Team of the Year, didn't he? That's another wiki stat for you. I actually had him, and I want to throw out a disclaimer. My stats have come from Transfer Market tonight. I've got the similar one for the Cup. I think he might have played a couple of League Cup games as well earlier on, but I got him down as 199 games and 196 goals conceded. So he conceded, he was conceding less than a goal a game over a period of time. But
someone wants to combine all these because
we want to try and verify it.
Someone who's probably I know we know just the guy in the last man standing, Pete the Stat Wanker. He can sort that out, can't
Get Pete Lohman.
Get him
Make
on.
sure Pete's watching. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so little graphic for you there. As we said, Kieran Westwood is our TWW post-Prem era goalkeeper, 1 to 11 goalkeeper, 21 international caps. We can argue the merits of we're there or thereabouts ballpark, 199 appearances, 196 conceded, 73 clean sheets, depending on who you want to believe.
Go on, believe Stevie, not Ash. Go on.
One of us are in the middle. It might be in the middle, but we'll get to it. Okay, so let's go into our back fours. Ash, just to mix it up a bit, do you want to go with your back fours? What I'm going to do for you, just to jog your memory, is I'm going to put your graphic up now. So in front of
we're
Kieran
doing all the
Westwood.
back four. Sorry, I thought we were going by position. Apologies. I'll change. I'll get rid of this. I'll get this thing.
Oof.
We're
go.
There with the boss. We're there with the boss.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Here's the graphic that we've prepared. I'll let you introduce it, Ash.
Yeah. So my back four went Tommy Spur at left back, Glenn Louvens at 1 centre back, Tom Lees, and there's a disclaimer in that, or Michael Hector, and of course it had to be Jack Hunt at right back. That's my back four. Obviously you will disagree, no doubt. Tommy Spur, boyhood Wednesday fan. I mean, I've got it down here, played 192 games for Wednesday. I had no issue with him at all. I thought he was quite solid without being spectacular. He's not one of those players that you're going to go, a la Marvin Johnson, so we say, who's got that attacking threat, who's consistently either scoring or assisting. So me, and then Louvens, and it was Lees or Hector. I put Hector in there because I thought for a guy who came on a 1 year and won the Player of the Season was phenomenal. And I don't know if he can really be classed after one season, or Shea Charles would obviously be in all over this. So it was a caveat that I was mightily impressed with Michael Hector. And you can't have no other right back than Jack Hunt. I'm sorry. Just purely for the Iceman. But hey, there we go. Jack Hunt left the club, came back, and obviously contributed to probably, I won't speak for you guys, but probably the best night of my life, apart from obviously children. I've got to say that. Mrs. Rogers is next door, all that. So, and I think my mum might be watching as well. So Yeah, that's my back four. So there we go.
I'm gonna chuck a stat in for you. Did you know that when we sold Jack Hunt, we sold him to Bristol City? Do you know how much we sold him for?
It's over $1 million, wasn't it?
1.2 was it? Something like that.
1.5.
1.7.
Oh,
Wow.
We got 1.7 million for Jack Hunt. Again,
so is that
according to
a player that
Transfer
we've
Market.
actually got money for? Then?
Well,
Yeah.
interestingly enough, there was a time in the mid-2010s where we actually sold players for money.
We
We
did.
recouped a significant amount. And I'm sure in the 11s that we've got tonight, there'll be players that moved on for fees. And I'm sure we'll get to that. Simon,
Yes.
do you want to give us your back four, please?
Yes. So I have Liam Palmer. I have Glenn Loovens. I have, here's a left field choice for you, Majid Bugera. And then I have Lewis Buxton. So if I go through, do you want me to go through each of them, or do you want me to pick out one in particular?
You go through them. Go through them.
I'm going for. I went for Liam because Liam.
I'm interested to hear left back Liam Palmer. Yeah.
Left back, right back. He can play anywhere across the back four, can't he? He can also play.
He's got to go in that position though. He's got to play left back. Picked him left back.
He has played left back a number of times, Ash, and you jolly well know it.
But he's better than the other.
And Lewis Buxton has played right back and centre back as well. And so at the end of the day, what I'm going for here on my left back and right back is the fact that these guys. Well, firstly, let's go to Palmer. Liam Palmer, obviously a stalwart at Sheffield Wednesday, went through an awful lot of what can I say, shit over the years from our fans in regards to his performances. But the guy just got better and better and better. And I think, personally, Steve might disagree, I think he peaked in our year when we went up through the playoffs. He did the runs, what was he doing, 10K a day and stuff like that. He came into it so fit, and he just proved to everybody what a consummate professional he was. And that's why he has to be in my back four. The guy is ever dependable. And I think now, unfortunately, one, age has caught up with him. And two, the game is moved on in the Championship. A young Liam Palmer with the head and experience of what he has now would be an amazing signing. That's why I picked Liam. Glenn Loovens, what a signing Glenn Loovens was. I mean, he was actually brought into the side by Dave Jones, and we signed him on the day that Dave Jones got the sack. And he was an absolute stalwart at the back, saw us through Stuart Gray. Stuart Gray ended up being manager, and then obviously into the Carlos years. Obviously played at Wembley. When we signed a young Tom Lees from Leeds, the Leeds fans wrote him off, said he was awful, said he was dreadful. And you know what? I think the player that made Tom Lees that really good player at the start was Glenn Loovens. Glenn Loovens was a consummate captain. He was brilliant. And unfortunately, again, age caught up with him. And I think age caught up with him when we played Huddersfield in the playoffs. And it's a horrible thing to say, but his legs had gone and he's lost his pace. And then we saw when he left, Tom Lees looked a little lost. He hadn't got that captain by the side of him. Majid Bugera. So Steve alluded to the fact that we used to sign players and then actually make money out of this. This guy we signed, right? I think we signed him. Did we sign from Crew or something along those sort of lines? And in 6 months, we signed him for around about 300,000, sold him for 2.5 million in 6 months to Charlton Athletic. The guy went on to play for Rangers. He played for Algeria national team. When he got the ball from midfield and took that ball through midfield, from defence through midfield, there was something amazing about him. And we never, ever saw... He actually interviewed him a few years ago, and he said the worst move he ever did was leave Sheffield Wednesday and go to Charlton. He wished he'd stayed. And I think we would have seen an amazing player. And he went on to play in the Premier League and the Scottish Premier League. That's how good he was. And we made a whopping £2.2 million out of him in 6 months of him playing for Wednesday, which is amazing signing. We can only dream of signings like that now. And then finally, Lewis Buxton, what a servant to the club. Again, we think we signed him from Stoke. I remember this is where I sit. I always thought he was one of the shorter players, and then we played Man City on a Wednesday night when we got hammered. I can't remember what the score was. Frank Lampard was playing for them, and we got destroyed. But he's a big lad, is our Lewis, 6'1", 6'2", and what a great player! And he could play again across the back four. And I think he really peaked his career. Peaked at Wednesday. Great stalwart. Played many games for Sheffield Wednesday. I'll have a look at my stats that I've got. He says on the wrong page. Oh yeah, I can't find it. There you go. Unbelievable. That's how well prepared I am. But he played a lot. Yeah, over 200. Great player. And you know what? If you asked him to play centre back, he'd play centre back. If you left him to play right back, he'd play right back. A great player. And that's why I've gone for Buxton. That's my back four.
It's a solid back four, Si. John, can you add anything more substantial?
Yeah, well, for me, I think the fullbacks. Dan's probably put the fullbacks on the wrong sides there, but yeah, Max Lowe. I know you can sometimes fall victim of recency bias, but Max Lowe made a big impression on me as a fan, and I think his quality was evident from quite early doors. And you know, some of the players I think are victim of being either in a rubbish side where they stood out, or they maybe look better because they were in a good side. And so when I'm thinking of left backs, I think Pudil was very good, but he was also part of that tremendous first couple of seasons we had under Carlos, with lots of great players around him. And I think, you know, Tommy Spur was a decent player, but in a struggling side. So for me, I think the most balanced of them all there for me would be Max Lowe, who was a good player in an okay side that were coached up really well. And obviously he slotted into centre half when the injury bug hit, and did admirably there as well. So for me, I think Max Lowe would be my left back over anyone else post 2000. I've got Bagheera same as Simon, so we'll not dwell on that too much. He's already said pretty much everything about Bagheera on that.
John, just before you go on quickly, I forgot all about Bagheera. I honestly admit, and the point Simon's made and what you would agree with, I totally agree with on the football side. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Look.
There you go.
Are you sinking?
Iceberg.
Yeah. So I think Bagheera, he wasn't here long enough. I'd love to have seen him a lot longer. Made some good money on him. It was a quality signing, what he really was, and I loved how he brought the ball out from defence. Again, there's the Jack Hunt, Lewis Buxton, Liam Palmer. They've all played really well at right back for us. I just think that Hunt, during those first seasons under Carlos, was great coming forward. The overlaps he used to do, and he got up and down the pitch really well. So for me, Hunt would be my choice. And yeah, Lees was better for having Louvens at the side of him, but I still think he came into his own. I think he had a bit of a chip on his shoulder after what the Leeds fans had said about him, and coming to Wednesday, and I think he had a bit of a point to prove. He had been in England under 19 or under 17 at some point in his career, so they knew there was a player in there. So I think Lees was solid in his own right, but definitely benefit from the mental reading of the game which Louvens had. But I think it had worked equally as well and formed a fine partnership with Bagheera as well. So that would be my back four.
Okay. Shall I tell you my other three in my back four then? I've gone for the following back four. Again, wanted to mix it up a little bit. I was keen not to go entirely down the 2014 to 16 era, which is one of the reasons that Pudil missed out. Louvens, as good a centre half as we've had in the last 25 years for me. And I think genuinely the only person that can come anywhere near him in terms of ability. And I do think there's still going to be a leader in there with a couple more, maybe a couple of years. Probably not with Sheffield Wednesday in the current climate, but Deschamps Bernard will be a hell of a player when he continues to mature. Palmer, I don't really need to speak too much about it. We could, I could talk about him all night and wax lyrical about my sort of appreciation, respectfully, in Palmer, and the things that have been mentioned, in weeks and seasons gone by, the reasons why I put him in there. Loyal servant. I think he's got the quality, or has demonstrated over a longer period of time that he's got that quality. I still think when at his peak, was a better player than Hunt. I do, and I know that'll get people that will disagree with me with that, and that's absolutely fine. And then my sort of left field was Reeder. I'll put Reeder Johnson in at left back, just because it harks back to an era of, we weren't necessarily the best at the time, and he wasn't necessarily the best player, but his goal scoring record and his physicality and his dominance, I just think he offered something that at that point made him something of a cult hero in what I felt, as memory serves me, was a bit of a sort of an average Sheffield Wednesday side. He was just somebody that I really enjoyed going and watching, and as a defender had an appreciation for his ability to be a no-nonsense, what Dan Fudge would call shit kicker defender, predominantly used at left back, but could also play centre half. And he's a left back that I've gone for. So there are back fours, and we're going to move on to our midfield. I'm just conscious of the time. We'll move on to midfield. We're going to start with you, John. At this point, John and Simon, they move into a 4-4-2. I think me and Ash have gone for something slightly different, but we'll do the midfield. John, I'm going to put yours up now.
Yep.
I was just going to say, just before, Steve, did you want to go for some advert breaks at half?
I was going to leave it till after midfield.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so yeah, midfield then. So I'll start from right to left for anyone viewing on the screen. So yeah, obviously we signed this guy initially on loan, but then made it into a permanent transfer from Southampton, I believe, and that's Michail Antonio. If people remember, we had another loan player who we were desperate to re-sign in Ben Marshall, and it dragged on for ages and ages and ages, and we never managed to get him. I think he ended up going to Leicester, and we replaced him with this guy, Michail Antonio, who was just absolutely sensational for us. It took a little while to get going, but once he hit his stride, he was absolutely phenomenal and scored some of the most key goals in any Wednesday season. I mean, I think many of us will fondly remember the late goal against Carlisle, which is about as loud as it gets at Hillsborough, considering the context of the goal and what were at stake and everything. And I just thought it was one of those players that we were never destined to hang on to, because Sheffield Wednesday, and we're still here now, aren't we? Going up and down the leagues, but never being able to quite get back to the top flight, which is where he ultimately ended up after a short stint at Forest first. But Michail Antonio would be my right winger, right midfielder, whatever you want to call him there. I thought it was a absolutely phenomenal signing for us, and go down in Wednesday folklore for, not just the Carlisle goal, but obviously the heroics against Wickham as well, which saw us over the line. So we're moving side to another player who we initially signed, and I think when we signed him, he was a right back at the time, in Kieran Lee, who's been on Man United's books as well. Kieran came in, and obviously, we've got some people already playing at right back. He was not really in the side as much as when he first joined us, but then we thrust him into midfield. I don't know when or where, to be honest, but because he just seemed like he'd been an ever present. But he found his way into midfield and never looked back. It was an absolute compliment to Barry Bannon, as many other players have come and gone, have done the same. But Kieran Lee just had wonderful vision, wonderful composure on the ball, great passing, key goals as well. One of those players that he never seemed to be any less than a 7 out of 10, and another key figure in the two wonderful seasons we had, where we almost did it but didn't quite. And yeah, he was very much another fan favourite who had a great spell with us, and sad to see that it didn't fulfil the ambition of promotion with us, and eventually moved on. Moving on inside, then everybody knows the next one still with us now. Our captain, Barry Bannon. I think we got him on a free transfer. I think it was released by Palace, maybe. He got brought in as well, and what can you say? One of Sheffield Wednesday's, well, it's got to be one of Sheffield Wednesday's best ever signings. Particularly outside the top division. He's got a plethora of caps for Scotland. He's been many appearances for Sheffield Wednesday. In many ways, he's Mr. Sheffield Wednesday. He's seen it all. He's been to playoff finals for Championship. Been with us on a playoff final for League One. Suffered relegation. Had the joys of promotion. He's still an ever present now and still going strong. Fantastic servant for the club, and we'll see where the journey continues with Barry Bannon. And then finally, from me on the left-hand side, another, I think maybe Chris Turner signed this geezer, and this Northern Ireland fella, Chris Brunt, wonderful left foot, scored some outrageous goals from us. There was one at Leeds, one at Leicester, I seem to remember as well. Had a couple at home as well. Part of that wonderful side that took us to the league, the League One playoff final in Cardiff, along with Glenn Whelan, formed a nice partnership with him as well. Another player I think we made money on as well. When we mentioned about rare players that we've sold for money, Chris Brunt was one of those. It was inevitable we would lose him again, a little bit typical of the fortunes of the club. But I thought Chris Brunt was a hammer of a left foot and was really good for us, and went on to play in the Premier League for many years with West Brom. So he'd complete my midfield lineup.
Comprehensive analysis, John. Simon, stick yours up. You've been looking at yours. You're in there. You've got Bannon and Antonio, similar to what John has included, but you've also got Glenn Whelan, and you've stuck Forestierian on the left. So I'm going to give you 90 seconds or so to go through those.
Glenn Whelan for me, it was a really difficult one between Glenn and Kieran Lee, but I sort of looked at where we'd come from, where those players had gone. Glenn Whelan was signed on a free by Chris Turner a long time of where we brought Chris Brunt in, massive reducing wage costs. Fundamental, I think he won in the Cardiff playoff final. He won Player of the Game, scored in that. He always reminded me of a cross between sort of Danny Wilson and John Sheridan. And you know what? I think he would have been amazing against the side of Bannon, because he not only could break play up, but he could pass a ball as well. I thought he was a great player. We sold him to Stoke for £500,000, which, when you look at his career at Stoke, seems a bit of a steal for Stoke, really, $500,000. But a great player. And I think he came back to Hillsborough for Villa, I think it was. And then I think I saw him play in a Legends game. Sorry about the dog. And I would have signed him again. He was superb. And finally, Fernando, I stuck him out on the left. Probably not his natural position, but what was his natural position? He's a midfielder come striker. He was a bit of a maverick. He was a player that needed to be loved. And I think in his first season after he left Watford because he'd been left out, and I think he needed a move. In that first season at Hillsborough under Carlos, he was amazing. And I fell in love with him. Just one of the most amazing players I've seen in a blue and white shirt. Inventive, creative. But then it all sort of went a bit wrong the following year when I think he got his nose pushed out. There was rumours that people were getting paid more. And it all sort of went a bit sour from there. We had glimpses of what we had in that first season. But, I mean, famously, the blue push bike, wasn't it? The blue push bike he had on Instagram, I think it was. And I don't think he ever really settled in Sheffield either. His home was always London. He loved living in London. He was always returning. He just rented in Chapeltown, I think. And eventually he left. But the sort of goals we score and the inventiveness, but on the other hand as well, the way some of the managers, I mean, I don't know whether any of you remember him played at right back at Barnsley away. Was he played at right back? I think Gary Monk
That
played
Monk.
him. Yeah, Gary Monk played him there, and it was atrocious to see a player of such huge talent wasted. So I had to shoehorn him into my midfield because I've got a couple of left fields playing up front. So, and I wanted to, and those two that I will mention when we talk about strikers, are two players that made, quite an impression on me in the time that were with us at Hillsborough.
Cheers, Si. Ash, break yours down for me.
Well, I've gone for a midfield three of Kieran Lee with, Barry Bannon and, of course, Sam Hutchinson. I can't add anything to anything anyone else has said about Lee and Bannon. Hutchinson, for me, I just think, yes, I admit he may not have been the best footballer in there, but what he lacked in footballing on the ball, I think he made up in. I was going to use heart, but that is quite apt in the last couple of weeks with Sam Hutchinson's news. Yeah, for me, I think the massive, us on this podcast, massive advocates for mental health. And I think for a young guy such as Hutchinson to basically retire from football and give up on his dreams of playing football, to come back and then still manage to play, I don't know what it was. I've got 133, but another 200 and odd games after retiring is fantastic. And he gave birth to the greatest game ever, Hutch Bingo, innit? So, so you can always win a couple of quid on him. And just to say, met the guy, fantastic guy as well. So, and that's my midfield three. Kieran Lee, Barry Bannon speak for themselves, don't they? So that's it. And we're running out of time.
Yeah. Here's mine then. And before people start clutching the pearls, there's still a couple to come. So I've gone Hutch, Lee, and Semedo. I wanted to put Jose Semedo in there just because of similar reasons to Johnson, really. I think he was pivotal in that sort of early 2010 period. And there is a little bit of shoehorning that we've got in there, but I'd wholeheartedly sort of endorse everything that's been said about Hutchinson and Lee. I don't need to say anything that we haven't already. Semedo, that iconic image of him on the pitch with his arms in the air, I think he deserves to be in the side just for that, to be fair. And again, I wanted to mix it up and offer a sort of a breadth across the 25 years. My sort of memories latterly came from, I missed a lot of football in the early 2000s because I was playing myself. So when I came back to Sheffield Wednesday, Semedo was the first sort of midfielder that really sort of caught my attention as being some sort of player. So I thought it'd be remiss of me not to include him. And I just wanted to sort of tip my hat to him as well. Right, we're going to do forward threes or twos when we come back, but as we've just discussed, it's time for a little ad break. So we're going to hear from our sponsors. It may be Chris Rock, it may be some sort of fast food outlet, and we'll see, or it may be Skybet.
Brace yourself, some people are gonna try and sell you some things.
Bet responsibly. Guys, welcome back. We're going to get into our attacking lineup just to finish off our 1 to 11s. And we're going to start this time. I'm going to put him on the spot because he's not paying attention. I'm going to start with Ash and see if he can offer me a concise version of the reasons why he's picked his attacking lineup.
I'll just give you the reason why I was on my phone. Was that I just got a random message from somebody saying, asking me about the consortium that's buying Sheffield Wednesday, supposedly. A name that's come out of nowhere. So weird, isn't it? So my front three was...
Stop. Before you go any further.
Oh, I need to change the banner, sorry. Go on.
Oh...
The Rumour Mill.
Ashley, is there something you would like to discuss with us?
Well, yeah, I don't even know who the guy is. So, Travis Kelce, who's he?
He's a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs, American football. Famously dating Taylor Swift.
Oh,
that's bollocks, then, isn't it? I think that might be my daughter winding me up then. Anyway,
go park it. Ash, give me your front three. Give me your front three.
My front three is Forestieri on the left, Antonio on the right, and just purely for the hashtag Hooper demands way back when he was signing for Sheffield Wednesday is Gary Hooper. We've spoke about Forestieri, spoke about Antonio. Gary Hooper, what a natural born finisher he was. And what an absolute shame he got hampered by injuries. Because if we'd have got Celtic Gary Hooper, I'm telling you, we would have been a little bit better than we were. I think he fantastic player, finisher, goal scorer, boring as dishwater. He was a talk one. The guy just doesn't like talking, does he? He was on the stage, but anyway. But that's not what we're here for. Talk about that. But he was massively on the mic.
Massively shy, isn't he? Really shy. Yeah, really shy.
But yeah, that's my front three. There is umpteen others that I could have put out in, but Gary Hooper, Forestieri, and Antonio. I mean, Forestieri. You've said about it. A shame how it ended for him, Sheffield Wednesday. The way he acted, or believed to have been acting. You know, it's all rumour, ITK in it, and I'm all right just saying that after reading that out. But Gary Hooper probably up front is unfortunately, what a player he could have been if injuries didn't rob him.
Simon, I'm going to come to you. Cheers for that. I'm going to come to you with yours. As we talked about earlier, you've gone for a 4-4-2, so you've gone two up top. Interestingly, you've picked two players that I avoided, and I'll have my reasons for avoiding them. They're probably similar to the reasons that you've included them. So I'm going to give you the floor.
Yeah. So these are two loan players. And in the heady days where loan players actually came to you for a month or a couple of months, it wasn't how we have now for a season, half a season. It was literally they came, they conquered, they left, or they came, they failed, they got chucked out. And the first one is Kenwyne Jones, Paul Sturrock signed for a month, who played 7 games and scored 7 goals. And he was absolutely out of this world. I think he was at Southampton at the time, and he went on to carry on playing for them and then went to Stoke. But Paul Sturrock just had him singing at the time. He was absolutely on fire, And who knows what could have happened if he'd actually stayed, if we'd had him for several months rather than the time that we did have him. But obviously, a striker starts scoring in every game. His own team's going to want him back, and they did. But he was superb up front, pacey, strong, and just had an eye for goal. And I'm going for Connor Wickham's first stroke second loan at Wednesday, when not his third one where he was absolutely goddamn awful. He was absolutely brilliant, and he was the player who, again, like Gary Hooper's career was ruined by injuries, absolutely ruined by injuries. He was with us, 17 games, 9 goals, strong. He put 2 against Leeds in the 6-0 or 6-2 drubbing. I can't remember which it was. I think it was 6-0 drubbing. Just brilliant, just strong. And we cried out for him to come back. And unfortunately, I think by that time when he came back to us, he went to Crystal Palace, played in and out in the Premier League. But again, injuries like Hooper killed the lad, unfortunately. And that was him done. But there were 2 players strikers who just struck out in my mind that A, what could have been, and 2, prolific in the short time they were with Wednesday. And at the time, you were saying, Steve, about Semedo, they were shining lights in a dim period of our history, and that was the same with those two players.
I just couldn't put, and I agree with everything that you've said, particularly about Kenwyne Jones. I just couldn't put a 7-game player in.
That's the same way.
And that's the only reason that I couldn't. But he wouldn't have scored 20 in 20, but 7 in 7 was a hell of a record. He went on a hell of a run. And I can just recollect that sort of period of time. He was absolutely phenomenal. But
he'd have done an Ugbo, wouldn't he? He'd have done an Ugbo.
yeah.
And
in fact, for me, that he was out.
But the lad went on to play in the Premier League on a regular basis.
He did.
And like Whelan and Brunt and numerous players that we've had, they've gone on and proved themselves at a far higher level, and we've set them on their career path, so to speak.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and interesting that you should mention that, because what we've done is we've put together a couple of alternative graphics as well, so sort of lineups, and we're going to drop those over social media over the next few days. So we've got one that is a loan loves, so 1 to 11 are the best Sheffield Wednesday loans. Another one is the who moved on to bigger and better things. So we're almost combining it there. Players that we've had that were substantively Sheffield Wednesday players that then went on to play for better teams. So if you're watching this evening, you've got us on your social media platforms. Keep an eye out for those, because they're going to drop. The other one that we've got is Dan Fudge's Massive Man Crushers. Nobody else has had anything to do with that, but there is a 1 to 11 of the people that Dan Fudge would probably lick their necks if he was in the same room as.
Is it like the Roland Nielsen one where it's Aidan Flint on every number apart from number 9?
I can neither confirm nor deny who's on it, but I can guarantee that Aidan Flint is on it.
He will be on there. Yeah.
He is on there somewhere. I'm gonna chuck mine up super quick. Just conscious of time. I did say that there was a little bit of shoehorning in. I couldn't
just a bit.
I couldn't not put Bannon in there. And I, if I'm honest with you, I toyed with pulling Semedo out and sticking Brunt in at 5 o'clock this afternoon. But I thought, you know what? No, we'll stick with what we've got. We'll give the lads that are in there the recognition that they deserve. Bannon did spend his sort of formative years at Sheffield Wednesday out on the left-hand side. I'm not saying it was his best position, but he, for with a little bit of artistic license, gets in my 1 to 11 for all of those reasons. It is a little bit sort of defensive heavy. I do think that Kieran Lee could do a job further up the pitch, supporting. But for the purposes that we've got this evening, I put Bannon on the left-hand side. Seeing it more as a sort of a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-1-1, if you like, than a 4-3-3. But I've no doubt that a younger Barry Bannon could have, gone and done a job on that left-hand side of a front three. And then I've got Forestieri on the right-hand side. We've spoken about him. And Gary Hooper, for me, in terms of finishing, I don't think we had a more natural and consistent striker, as Ash alluded to earlier on. Yeah. Incredible to think what he could have been if we'd have had the player that didn't get injured and was at the levels that he'd attained when he was playing at Celtic and playing in the sort of the Scottish Premiership and playing in the Champions League. We'd have been right up there. I genuinely believe that, and I think there's an argument that we'd have been a Premier League team. John, having said all of that, I'd like to see what you've got. So do you want to talk us through your final two?
Yeah, final two will come as no surprise. I think we're all pretty much on the same wavelength here, just depending on where you put him on the pitch. Obviously, we spoke already about Forestieri. I spoke a lot about him. The Mercurial, Maverick, Mardy Bum. Pick your M's there with him, to be honest with you. But he was a key player for us, scored some fantastic goals. Norwich away always sticks in my mind. And then Hooper, yeah, I agree entirely with what you said there, Stevie. Absolute clinical finisher. Sad that he was robbed a lot of game time because of injuries, and had the best chant. I still hear this chant in my head from time to time. The Hooper's on fire. When we were going down to Wembley, it was a song that fans were always getting on board with and singing. Very memorable player, and but for injuries, I agree. I think could have been a different story.
Lads, it's been great. The last sort of 54 minutes or so of going through your 1 to 11s has been absolutely fantastic. We do have those graphics, and as I said, we're going to do the 1 to 11s of the alternatives that we haven't discussed tonight. But I'm going to nudge Ash either later this evening or tomorrow morning and see if we can put those graphics up on a poll and see if who can get the most votes, if you like, for their 1 to 11.
I was just going to say, I've got a question, and Gary's just beat me to it. So Gary's put up, out of the 4, I'd have gone with Simon's team. So I was going to actually ask anyone in the comments watching, of the 4 teams that we've picked, if you just want to put a comment in whose team you'd go for.
Chuck them in the comments, and I'm a bit of a statty guy, so we'll see if we can get the poll up as well. Vote Stevie. But yeah, cheers for that, lads, and thanks for all your comments this evening. It's been an absolutely brilliant sort of 45, 50 minutes talking through those teams in what was...
Here's our best 11 since 2000. We've been shite, but we've had lads who could still fight. 4 of us picked our favourite crew, and half of them you've never heard, it's true.
That is this week's earworm. We've got John's team. So John Duncan's in the comments. He's just said John's team for me. Somebody somewhere will agree with me at some point, hopefully. If not anybody out there, I'm going to pay my daughter to do it. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to sort of bring things back to the fore and the sort of current state of affairs. So I'm going to introduce tonight's
Hot Topic.
Tonight's hot topic, it'll come as no major surprise. There's been a little bit of chatter, although it's been fairly quiet on the Sheffield Wednesday hashtag, that there are some jobs that have been up, that have been linked, or our manager has been linked to over the last, however long you want to look at it from a Southampton point of view. We're talking 6 months. There's also been rumours elsewhere. So my hot topic this evening is, with Will Still being announced as Southampton manager and Russell Martin heavily linked with the Leicester job, I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, what's Danny's next move?
Doloff has been signed, right?
Well, S6. He's got a job. He's got a contract. He's got a job. Maybe he should have been slightly more enjoying his holidays rather than talking to the German press so much. Currently, he's got a job at S6. And as it stands, he hasn't got one in Southampton and he hasn't got one in Leicester. So, but he's got one at Hillsborough, and he's always had one at Hillsborough, and he's got one for the next 2 years because that's what his contract says. So, unless something else happens, he's going to have to start looking at pre-season and signing a few players, isn't he? It's simple as. You know, we've lost our one of the coaches today, haven't we? To Wickham, the analyst. Yeah, one of the analysts. Yeah, no, he's
stats wankers.
And then a few of the other guys' contracts are running out in the next week or so. So
3 days, isn't it?
Yeah. So as it stands, they've all gone for people with a little bit more pedigree, Danny. You know, I think you've probably needed another year or so at Hillsborough to prove yourself. That's my opinion.
Ash, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to ask you the similar question from a different standpoint. Do you think that Chansiri and the contract that Rule signed have priced Rule out of other teams' interest, if you like, and they've gone for alternatives, having had Danny Rule as previously their number one? So have Southampton, for example, gone to Will Still, knowing that he would be cheaper than paying money out for Danny Rule?
I would think that a club coming down from the Championship, from the Premier League with the parachute payments, is probably a bit cash rich. And if they didn't want to pay between 3 and 5 million or whatever the release clause with Danny for, then not many teams are going to. That's I think. If a Premier League parachute payment rich club is not going to pay 3 to 5 million for a manager, then there's not going to be that many clubs in the Bundesliga or in Championship or wherever is going to be able to pay for him. So on that, for all we give Chansiri a good pummeling, rightly so as well. After last season, when everybody, and I say everyone, 99%, there's always going to be people, wanted him to sign a new contract, and Chansiri got him to sign to stay on for another 2 years and put in this clause in because he was hot property at the time, even though he'd only been here a few months. But after what had happened, then you would say that was probably the only bit of good business that Chansiri's done. But Danny's signed that contract. He's had his people look over it and gone, look, if you want to leave in January 25, it's going to cost somebody between 3 and 5 million or whatever it was. And he's agreed to it, obviously with a hefty wage rise, of course, and that's it. So he's agreed to it. The club's agreed to it. The fans, majority of them loved it that he signed it in summer for an extension. And then January happened, and that's probably, it's easy to say now, isn't it? But for whatever happened behind the scenes with him and his boss, it's gone a bit awry. If he'd have just, it's easy for us to say we haven't got a boss like Chansiri on running and managing a football team, but if he'd have just kept his nut down and cracked on and maybe got to the place, or maybe just missed out on a couple of points, but it just sent that it was a bit of his head had gone. Now looking at some of the interviews, before Christmas, and then some after February the 1st, the interviews didn't seem the same. I know it's hindsight now. At the time, we didn't come on here on a Monday night going, bloody hell, we won away at God knows where, and that interview were a bit off, weren't it, from Danny? But yeah, I think it's easy to say, isn't it? But it looks like it, doesn't it? It looks like the contract is too rich for people to pay out of it. And is Chansiri stubborn? Of course he is. What a stupid question. Will he demand that he turns up on 1st of July or whenever they have to come back? I don't know. I'm sure he will, and that's what will happen. And then it'll be down to Danny if he breaks his contract.
I think it's due to be in the next couple of weeks, isn't it? I think mid-June would be the sort of the starting point in terms of getting the teams back in. So there's a lot of work to be done over the next couple of weeks from a sort of a management backstage or back behind the scenes sort of situation before we even think about the players coming back. So there's a lot of moving parts that we need to look at before we think about that sort of pre-season schedule. John, I've got another spin on the question for you. The form since that initial alleged contact with Southampton took a little bit of a nosedive, and we can look at it from any sort of point of view that you want. Were the two of them cutting their noses off to spite the faces? Danny down tools? Have the players lost respect for him because of the tirades that were coming out in the press, etc.? Do you think that there's an element of a loss of form and a lack of performance has sort of dissuaded people? He's lost a bit of shine, shall we say? As the lack of form dissuaded potential suitors from looking at Danny Rule as a potential next manager for their clubs?
Quite possibly. I think the thing with Danny is, has he done enough to get another job at a higher level or at a club with more resources? Yeah, I think he has. But the problem they've got is the compensation. We don't know the figure. We assume it's on the higher end because no one's come and paid it yet. And there's been all sorts of rumours about Southampton's approaches and what they were what they wanted to do in regards to get Danny. And now we've come to a bit of an impasse, haven't we? And there's so much uncertainty right now. I think he did have his head turned, Stevie. Absolutely, I think his head were turned. I think he's made no secret about his desire and ambition to manage at the highest level and take his career as far as he can go. He's every right to think that way. He's certainly got the credentials in my eyes to do that. But the problem is we've come to a bit of an impasse. Clubs don't seem willing to pay whatever compensation fee is out there, and the job opportunities seem to be shrinking. I think, although we're the third of Bremen, should I say, are the latest rumour. and we'll have to see on that one. But it's weird if he had just kind of got his nose down, kept his nose clean, got his head down, and we'd finished strong and maybe just missed out on the playoffs by a couple of points here or there, then I think his stock might have been a little bit higher, and perhaps teams might have been willing to take that risk a little bit more. But now there's just so much uncertainty with the off season, because really you should be doing the planning now. Danny should be we should be knowing that he's coming back, knowing that he's taking pre-season, formulating his list of transfers, targets, and pre-season friendlies, etc. And all we've got is silence. So there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So one way or another, we need to know what's going on, and something has to happen quick, so that as a club we can move forward.
Yeah, interesting chat there, guys, and tried to look at it from different points of view from all of you, but I will sort of pull it together with one last question. Off the back of Craig Hayward's comment there, I don't know if you can pop that one back up, Ash. Another way to look at it, do we really want a guy who clearly does not want to be here? And there's debate in the chat this evening about whether or not we want a manager who has sort of intimated that he doesn't want to be around. If we are at that impasse then, and it's a very quick one, so quick answers, guys. If we're in that situation where we are at an impasse and he is contractually bound to Sheffield Wednesday, and he is staying here, whether he is or he isn't, hypothetically, if he's staying here, what does he need to do to get the majority of the fan base he's potentially switched off back on side? Simon, you're on mute, Simon.
That's because
Simon.
I'm back. Sorry, barky dog in the corner. I think he needs to show us the positivity that we gained at the start of last season, pre-season. So we need to be looking at what plans we've got in place. We need to be looking at, obviously, the backroom staff, keeping the backroom staff if he was to be staying. We need to look at the pre-season. So to show us a pre-season, because if you think about it, we were really, really sort of probably the best pre-season we've had in a long time, because we'd lost Darren Moore one pre-season, Cisco Muniz came in at the last minute. We'd lost Steve Bruce leaving and going to Newcastle. You know, we've had no managers at all. Is this manager, that manager? So last season was very, very odd feeling. And also we need signings, because the biggest thing that turns everybody on is if he comes in and goes, right, I'm going to be professional about this, and then all of a sudden we have a flutter of what we see as good signings, then it'll all be forgotten, won't it? It's very much like all the stuff that goes in the background gets forgotten when we start winning games. And it's not until we start losing games that all of a sudden everybody remembers that, hang on a minute, things aren't so rosy behind the scenes.
John?
To be honest, I don't think he wants to come back and work under this regime, if I'm honest. And I know that's me throwing it out there. I've got absolutely no idea. I've got no contact with him, but I just think that he wants to. He mentioned, didn't he, in one of the interviews, that he doesn't think the club's ready for the next level. I think you'll all remember that quote quite vividly. And I think it's a bit of a shot at the chairman and the ownership saying, look, I can get you where you want to be, but you've got to work with me. And I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's forthcoming. I mean, we're not going to drag up old ground so much. I'll just keep it brief. But, you know, if you can't pay for the players' wages, how are we going to finance another promotion push? And that's what Danny wants. And I don't think that's what he believes he can get under this regime. So one way or another, I think it'll be resolved. But I don't think it'll be Danny working for Chancery anymore.
Okay, shot that one down. Ash, anything to add?
Nothing to add. Just got a comment from Matt Strickland here. He just says he needs to come out and publicly speak to us as fans. He's more than welcome to come on to the number 3 Sheffield Wednesday podcast. Invite open to him if he's watching. If anyone knows him, you know, one of his mates or anything, drop him a DM and say, Danny, you want to come on the Wednesday week? Get your son down here. And I mean, he's been talking to a lot of press, so why not us? Eh?
Number 3. When did that?
Yeah.
When did we get? When do we get promoted?
Well, it's been a good year, hasn't it? It's been a good year.
Guys, thanks for that chat. Before we go, we're an hour and 10 in. Before we go, has anybody got any other business? I have one.
No.
Okay, so I'll do it then. I just wanted to mention the training ground update. We've got the upgrade that has been released at the back end of last week, and there was a little bit of a statement that was put out by the club. And the reason that I wanted to mention it was because for everything that has been said in the last sort of 5-10 minutes, we're talking at its root cause about the sort of the finances there. There has been obviously some financial input into the infrastructure at the academy. And in terms of Middlewood Road, over the last sort of 5 days, they've started to break ground. And I'm sure people on social media will have seen this graphic or this photograph that was shared. They've ripped up the Astro there, and they're making a number of different improvements to the facilities up there, which include new academy buildings, new reception, upgrades to the changing rooms, and this state-of-the-art surface, which is pure PT by Tiger Turf, and it was described as an industry-leading surface to replace our current AstroTurf pitch, and we are only the second club in Europe to install such a surface, following PSV Eindhoven. If things are going to be lean over the next few years, obviously with any money that we can afford to put into the academy, I think is a useful investment, because we've got to start growing from within. And if we are twofold, looking at it from a point of view that we want to try and get these players developed within our systems and our infrastructure, but also at the same time we want to try and reduce the number of bloody injuries that have been associated with the playing surface up at Middlewood Road. I think it can only be a good thing. The worry is, as we've alluded to over the last sort of however many weeks and in the last 5 minutes or so, this chat, where is this money coming from and how are we using it? Somebody in the comments might be able to tell me better. How are we balancing the books in terms of a profit and sustainability point of view?
The only thing that I've seen on social media is that it's been planned a year ago, and it's majority through grants that they've got.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with, I think, well, what I don't know. What people have said is nothing to do with Chancery ploughing a load of money in. It's all, majority of it's been paid for. And plus, I think some of the prefab buildings, are they something to do with the sponsor on the front of the shirt? Is it Mockber? Something like that? Something, okay. I think that some people, whoever they're providing them, so that might have been in with the deal, if you get your name on the front of the shirt or whatever.
Does that mean Mockber is sticking around, or was that part of the original sponsorship deal?
I don't know, mate. Don't know.
Right.
I ain't got a clue, but yeah, just think, because obviously it's like anything with. No, I nearly went on a rant. There's anything to do with our club, isn't it? Everything is in the know. He said, she said. Nobody actually knows. It's people on the social medias that you can believe. You can believe anyone you want. We know nothing, and so we'll report nothing. But you go on there. People do, don't they? They pick on everything, so you can look at that. And yeah, I think Jay has just put in the chat as well. He's had a look on the Sheffield's planning portal, and there isn't a bean as far as I can see. So, I mean, his own fans are doing investigation work on every aspect of the club. You got people who might be buying, managers that might come and spy. Yeah, well, because people want to know, don't they? People want to know what's happening with their club, and we just don't. So, if anyone wants to come on this podcast and let everyone know straight from the horse's mouth, then more than welcome. Why not? Throw the invite out there.
Yeah, we'll check it out. And that leads us into the final bit tonight, where we were talking about this being a themed show. There isn't a great deal going on at the minute. And obviously, if things do pop up, as we did last Thursday, I think it was, we had an emergency pod when we were talking about the players that were released. Any news that breaks, we're not going to be a million miles away from it. But whilst it is fairly quiet in that sort of interim period between the close season and pre-season starting up again, we are looking for things to talk about. We have got a couple of ideas that are going, that are in the ether, and we're working on a few bits. We've been doing the Q&A sessions now for better part of 8-9 months. Me, Ash, Dan. So we'll do a couple more of the Q&As as we go through, because that's always a little bit of therapy for us. If there's anything Sheffield Wednesday related that you'd like us to sort of long form talk about on a podcast, please drop us a DM. All the social medias. I should leave this bit to Simon, shouldn't I? Even though we're getting to the end of we're getting it's got its shelf life, but we're getting to the end of it. Get in touch with us on any medium that you like. We're active on everything that you can see on screen at the moment. You know, we've got no notifications switched on, so please feel free to get in touch with us and recommend any sort of topics that you'd like to discuss with us, or for us to discuss with you or for you. And whilst you're there, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. Simon, Ash, John, in the last 2 minutes, my daughters have just walked through the door. I've not seen them in over a week because they've been on holiday. So I'm going to end it now and go and see my kids. So I'll see you later.
See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday Week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your